Hi, so we are going to go over factoring and how you go from a factored form to standard form of a quadratic function, and we will also cover foiling, which is or the method of FOIL, which is an acronym that stands for first, outside, inside, last, and it's how you just multiply or distribute. So FOIL, which is our first, then the outside two, then the inside two, and then the last. So if we had a factored form of a quadratic like this, we would multiply the first two, which is x times x, and then you multiply the outside two, which is 3 and an x, and then you multiply the inside two, which is a minus 2 and an x, and then you multiply the last two, which is a negative 2 and a 3. And when we do that, we get x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 6, and then we group those two in the middle, and we have x squared plus x minus 6. And this is what FOIL does. It turns it from a factored form to the standard form. Now, let's say we had this x squared plus x minus 6, and we wanted to factor it. So now, this is factoring. So what I want is, I would take, there's a 1 here and a 6 here, so I have 1 times negative 6. So I want to know what two things, although granted I don't need the negative, but two things that multiply to this. So there's 1 and 6, and 2 and 3 that multiply to this, which is negative 6. But negative means one of these has to be negative. And the other is I need them to add to positive 1. So if I had a negative 1 and a positive 6, that won't work, and nor would a negative 6 and a positive 1. But if I had a negative 2 and a positive 3, that negative 2 times 3 equals 6, and negative 2 plus 3 equals 1. So I satisfied the conditions. So this will now be where we factor it. We break the middle part up into a negative 2 and a 3. So we have our x squared, and then we'll keep our negative 2x, and then we have a plus 3x minus 6. Now what we do is we group the front and the back two, so we have x squared minus 2x plus 3x minus 6. And then I factor out of here the greatest common factor. In this case, it just happens to be an x. I'm left with an x minus 2. And I factor out the greatest common factor here, and that happens to be a 3. And I'm left with an x minus 2. Now I have this and this, which are the same, so I factored those out. And then I have the x minus 2, and what was remaining was the x plus 3. And that is how you factor. So foiling is essentially undoing factoring, and we'll be going back and forth. You'll need to factor and FOIL a lot.